So this woman unalived her parents in her house and left the bodies there. And guess how long she lived in that house with their bodies? Guess. Now her name's Virginia, and she's 32, she lives in Essex, England with her parents, and they all get along really well. But one day, Virginia starts taking advantage of them, and she starts stealing their money. Like, she'll take her dad's credit card and use it without his consent. Then she starts applying for loans in her parents' name. And here's the other thing about Virginia, though. She's addicted to gambling. I guess she does a lot of those online betting sites to the point where she's currently in around 21,000 pounds in debt, or about 26,000 US dollars. And that's a lot of money. And despite the fact that she gets along with her parents really well, she knows that if they find out she's in all this debt from gambling and stealing money, they're gonna be devastated and probably pretty mad. And so, Virginia, she's about to be in a lot of trouble, her gambling debt keeps growing, and the clock is ticking, and it's just a matter of time before her parents catch on. Now, Virginia could go to them like an adult and confess that she has a problem and that she screwed up really big and that it'll never happen again, but that's not what she does. Instead, she comes up with this insane plan to make sure her parents never find out. And a few months later, she puts this plan into motion. First, she gets a bunch of prescription meds and she mixes them into her parents' drinks because she's trying to poison them. Then, she serves them those drinks, and I guess later they go to bed. The next morning, Virginia goes into her dad's room, and she finds him there in his bed, and he's unfortunately unalived. Then she goes to check on her mom, who's sleeping in a different room, and mom is asleep because of the drugs, but she's still alive. And Virginia's like, oh, bollocks, it didn't work. And she immediately comes up with a plan B. And she grabs a hammer, and she goes to her mom, and bam, she hits her over the head. And bam, she hits her again and again. Now this hammer is hurting her mom, but it's not unaliving her as fast as Virginia would like. So she goes and grabs a kitchen knife. And as her mom comes to, Virginia stabs her in the chest. And then she stabs her again and again, 7 or 8 times. Then she wraps both of her parents' bodies in sleeping bags and she puts them to rest. For her dad, she builds like a makeshift mausoleum, covering it with a sheet and family photos. It seems like it's like kind of a weird shrine. But her mom, she just stuffs her body in the back of a wardrobe. And then Virginia takes her mom's phone and she uses it to text her sisters, pretending to be her parents, like, your dad and I are at the seaside in Walton this week, so that the sisters think that they're on vacation instead of, dead. And this seemed to work, and now that her parents are no longer alive, Virginia can do whatever she wants. So the next day, she opens a new credit card in her mom's name, and she goes on a little shopping spree. She buys herself some stuff that she previously couldn't afford. And the worst part is that Virginia keeps living in this house with her parents' decomposing bodies, just chilling in the next room. And a whole year passes, and Virginia is still there, living rent-free, spending her parents' money. And to be honest, I don't think they had a lot of money. I don't think they were rich. I think Virginia just wanted to live off of what little they had. In fact, at this point, they're still receiving their pensions every month. And Virginia is just cashing them in and living off of them. And the whole time she's doing this, she's texting family members from her parents' phones, pretending to be them and claiming that they're like out of town or that they're too sick to come visit. So no one in the family has seen the parents in a long time. Then, boom, COVID hits, and much of the world slows down and everywhere is on lockdown. And this actually makes Virginia's life a lot easier. Like, parents can't visit anyone now, they're stuck inside in quarantine. And eventually, she ends up telling everyone that her parents moved, like they moved out to Seaside to retire. She even goes as far as to drive out to the Seaside and mail postcards from there to her parents' friends and family members, like, wish you were here, XOXO, mom and dad. And so Virginia keeps this up. She keeps up this facade for almost 4 years. And remember, she never removed her parents' corpses from her house. So for 4 whole ass years, she's been living there with them as they decompose. And as disgusting as that is, her plan seems to be working because so far she hasn't been caught. Until So I guess mom and dad have a regular doctor who they've been seeing for years. And one day, this doctor notices, man, I haven't seen them in a really long time. So he calls the county council and he's like, this old man hasn't picked up his medication in forever. So the county council contacts the local police. And local police contact Virginia like, hey, have you seen your parents? And she tells them this whole detailed bullshit story about how her parents are traveling, and the police are like, well, okay then. But that's what she's been telling people for years. So now police are suspicious. And a few days later, bam, they show up to the house and they got a warrant to search the place. And they knock on the door, but no one's answering. So police are like, all right, we're just gonna bust the door down then. And so they just straight up bust the door in to the place with one of those little battering rams, and they go inside. Now, I can only imagine the house smells like dead bodies, so pretty quickly they see Virginia, and she's just standing there.
Stay where you are.
Stay where you are.
Show me
Stay where you are. Show your hands.
Jenny?
Yep.
Jenny?
And so, bam, they arrest her weird ass. Here's her mugshot. Now, here's what's really interesting. She worked hard to keep this a secret from everyone for 4 years. She's texting people from her parents' phones, she's mailing people fake postcards, all kinds of stuff. But as soon as the police put her in handcuffs, she drops the entire facade immediately. And she admits everything. And she just shows them where the bodies are.
My dad's body's in there.
Right, okay. Where about your mum?
A little bit more complicated.
Where we find your mum?
Okay, so upstairs there were about 5 wardrobes. It's behind the bed, at the back, next to the sink.
She even casually goes into detail about how she did it.
Slips 5 of those into his drink. There were about 2 or 3 drinks that I brought downstairs. When I went in the morning, early hours, I got up about half an hour early, about 6 o'clock in the morning. Came in and he was gone.
And yeah, it's weird to see someone fess up like that, but then again, what else is she gonna do? Like, she knows she's been caught.
I did know that this would kind of come eventually. Cheer up, at least you caught the bad guy.
And so, bam, they throw her in jail. And she's still confessing when she's in there, and she tells them where to find the hammer she used to unalive her mom.
It's in the middle underneath the stairs. It will still have blood on it. It's rusted, but it will still have blood traces on it.
Wow. So anyway, Virginia's charged with unaliving both of her parents, and she pleads guilty, and she's sentenced to a minimum of 36 years in prison. And thank you to Leonardo.ai for sponsoring this video. If you want to make badass art for your videos like this, or like this, or like this, then sign up for Leonardo.ai. Or follow the link pinned in the comments, assuming this platform allows me to pin comments.